China, where the business lies in the two approaches and other policy implications. Now, we know that, I don't know how many of you are interested in this subject, but actually the world is very interested in special economic zones. Worldwide, there has been proliferation of special economic zones. In fact, I have done a study of 26 countries, and I found that in all of them, there has been increasing number of special economic zones, and newer type of zones have been coming up. So there is increase in the number of special economic zones, but it is not a matter of mere the number. The type of economic zone has also proliferated over the world. But there is no unequivocal success. There are cases and there is possibility that cost can outweigh benefit. Now, how can you avoid this situation? How can you make benefits outweigh cost? This is by promoting backward and forward linkages. That is, if you promote the linkages of special economic zones with the rest of the economy, then you can actually ensure that benefits can outweigh cost. And how to do that? The answer does not lie in having any conscious policy to do that, but in the strategies of special economic zones, that is, at the conceptualization stage itself, the vision stage itself, it has to be strategized in such a way that these linkages can be strengthened. And that is what I am going to talk about today. So this is what the study is about. Let me just talk about the approaches. When I said that the vision, the approaches in the formation, in the establishment of special economic zones, what do I mean? So let us start with the basic approach to the setting up of special economic zones. And as you know that the basic approach always has come from which school of economics? It is in the classical school. Classical school is the basic approach for everything. So neoclassical, and this is known as therefore orthodox approach. You have orthodox approach means classical or neoclassical approach. Of course, there is a difference between classical and neoclassical, but we talk about both of them as interchangeable. We use this terminology for both. Now, what is a neoclassical approach for special economic zones? According to them, they are trade enclaves. Trade enclave means these are some geographically delimited areas which are closed, and these areas offer taxes, they facilitate custom regime, and they offset anti-export bias in import substitution regimes. Now, what does that mean? Now, if you have an export-oriented regime, then obviously there are incentives to export, because export-oriented regime is driven by exports. But in import substituting regime, there is no incentive to export. Why? This is because no domestic consumption is there even otherwise. People are always there, in the economy. But when there is import substituting regime, then there are little incentives to export. Why? Because domestic markets are protected. You are not competing. So you can charge high prices domestically. Export markets are competitive, where the prices are low. So you don't want to export. You want to sell the products in the domestic market. So in the import substituting regime, there is very little incentive to export. Therefore, there is anti-export bias. Now but for import substituting regime also you need foreign exchange. Because for promotion, for development, you need to import machinery. You need to import various other raw materials. So how to actually earn foreign exchange in import substituting regime? You can earn foreign exchange by increasing export. But then how can you induce people to export? You can induce people to export by offsetting that anti-export bias. How do you offset that anti-export bias? By giving them some incentive. Okay, you say that don't pay us tax. We will give you very good regime. Okay, so that is why what they said, that you cannot change, you cannot, this decision of having import substituting regime is political. You cannot ask the government to change the regime. Nobody can ask. We people, we economists at least cannot say that. Okay. So how to promote export in that politically decided import substituting regime? You create certain enclaves. Okay. Now these enclaves are created so that exporters can produce in those enclaves and they can export with paying no taxes and then getting lots of benefits from the government. So according to this actually the export, SEZ, which are also known as export processing zones, they came up like that, in the 1943. The first Puerto Rico. And how it came up at that time, the idea was that, that economy, which was very close to America, that was changing from import substituting, that had import substitution regime, but then they were facing lots of problems with the economy. So it is American consultants, they invited American consultants to engineer the economy. So at that point of time, these Americans, I think it was Little, what is that company?
Arthur Anderson.
No, Little.
Arthur D. Little.
Arthur D. Little was the company actually that designed this model, and they proposed that this economy should go for promoting export through these benefits. Okay. So what happened was, the idea was that if you do that, if you give some incentive, then foreign investors would come and set up in your country, because now they know that they can easily sell that product and they can import raw material free of cost. So why what was their interest? Their interest was to actually provide some facilities to American foreign investors, so that American foreign investors could come there and they could actually start exporting from there, because labor was very cheap there. So this also improved the cost competitiveness of American exporters, American producers. So the whole value chain system came up like that. You must be familiar with the global value chain. This was the beginning of global value chain at that time. So the idea was that you create these enclaves in these economies which are having import substituting regime, and then you promote, you incentivize export production, and this will bring foreign exchange to finance imports. But then they caution that these zones can distort trade patterns in favor of capital-intensive products. Now, this is not really very much understood, but there is huge literature which is revolving around this kind of hypothesis, that it actually creates two economies. One is labor intensive and the other is capital intensive, and it affects the welfare of the economy. Okay. So, furthermore, it says that this kind of system, special economic zones, actually may have net effect, because they distort already distorted economy. You know that classicals basically believe in free market forces. As I was talking to Dr. Asa right now, that how much committed they are to play out market forces. So they said that this market is already distorted, and now within that distorted market you are creating another distortion in the form of creating something where you are giving special benefits. They don't like that. They are believers in marketplace, and here government is interfering and is changing the patterns of production. Okay, so they don't like it. So they say that this is going to have negative effect. Okay. Now, but then they say that it is good because it can be second best approach. You cannot liberalize the whole economy, but you have these small enclaves which are liberalized. So instead of having the whole economy closed, it's better to have some parts of the economy open. So they started calling this second best approach. Okay. So in fact, the World Bank was initially very much against this. But when this second best approach term was coined, then they actually participated in the promotion of several special economic zones across the world. Then they also said that perhaps this is also good to introduce reform, because these become testing laboratories for reform. You can introduce reform in these enclaves. If they are successful, then you can actually launch them in the wider economy as well. And in fact, Chinese model is seen as this model. Okay, that is, they call it an experimental lab. This is what in the World Bank terminology these are referred to. So this way of, what is the meaning of this approach? It means that you set up special economic zones which may be small areas, they remain enclosed, okay, and they should be near the ports, because they are basically to export. They are isolated from the rest of the economy because they are producing only for the export market. Okay, and they are imported free of cost, all the products free of cost, raw material free of cost, and then that leads to the production of export market. So this is the basic approach that actually has driven the setting up of special economic zones across the world. Now if you look at our old export processing zones, all of them were set up in port areas. Okay, they were small in nature, they were basically doing assembling kind of activity. Okay, because the whole purpose of this approach is that you do assembly because you are good for nothing. Okay, you just buy our raw material, input, assemble them and sell them across. Okay, that is what the whole idea of special economic zones was, because this is good for creating employment, this is good for earning foreign exchange, and this will lead to increasing national income. Okay, so most of these special economic zones have been set up in the initial phase based on this philosophy, and therefore they were all known to be, they understood to be second best, even by their own government. They also felt that these are the second best approaches. Okay, I will come to the differences, how that makes a difference. Next came the heterodox approach. Heterodox economists basically believe in the government intervention. They say that there are these developing economies, they are different from developed economies, and because these developing economies have some structural bottlenecks, government intervention is very important. Special economic zones, according to them, are an instrument for government intervention so as to promote foreign direct investment and also trade. Now, there is one more thing here. Classical economists believe that special economic zones are set up in import substituting regime. That's what they said. Okay. So therefore, there is no logic of setting up special economic zones in the open economy. Okay. So people, when our special economic zones were being set up initially, people were asking this question: do we really need special economic zones when we are already open? Okay. But yes, heterodox who says yes, special economic zones are important in export-oriented regime. And what they said was that in export-oriented regime, export promotion is the key for the growth of the economy. Okay. So the government has to make all-out efforts to improve exports, but then there are supply-side constraints. Your investment climate is not good, cost is very high, labor markets are rigid, your monetary markets are rigid. The entire system is very much non-competitive, which contributes to the cost of production. So cost of production increases, and therefore it is not viable to export. So what you do? They say the solution is a special economic zone. Don't create them in import substituting regime. Create them in export-oriented regime, because then you have these small islands which give you good investment climate, give you tax incentives to reduce your cost. So tax incentives are not to reduce your anti-export buyers, but tax incentives are to reduce costs which otherwise are very high. So they are to offset the cost of high cost of production. So you create that, but the major thrust has been on foreign direct investment. They say that this good climate will attract foreign investors. Foreign investors will bring new technology. This new technology will then spill over in the rest of the economy. So special economic zones can become very important instrument for the modernization of the economy. Okay, so they are going to facilitate your export-based industrialization. So according to heterodox approach, special economic zones are quite relevant even in export-oriented regime because they bring foreign investors which brings new technology. That was the whole objective. But the basic approach is the same. And the basic approach is that they are enclaves. Okay. They should be treated as enclaves. And their aim is to improve investment and